In the same vein of market volatility and how it relates to energy efficiency, I see the same thing happening in utilities with their incentives.
Yes.
And, at any minute, you could have a utility just eliminate whatever that incentive was that you were hoping to get for your project. Gone. Like from one day to the next, put a bulletin out on their website. Okay, hope you weren't dependent on this money for any projects, but it's going away in 15 days, 30 days, whatever they're, and by the way, it's going away in 30 days. There's no way, unless you've already closed the deal and products on site, that you'd be able to get the incentive anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's insane. I mean, you bring up a good point. All right, so here I am. I'm in Boston. I've been dealing with utilities and rebate programs since I was a little kid, working with my dad as an electrical contractor. I would say the one thing that we have here that's actually really nice, it's a really seamless process to go through the rebate application process.
Yeah.
And it's very, very helpful. I was just working with you guys out in California on some stuff, and I think maybe that's where that was coming from, Benjamin. But I could not believe the bureaucracy and the red tape and the volatility that exists in the utility programs. And it's no wonder nobody's doing energy efficiency on mass scale. It doesn't make sense, at least going through the utility. I was mind blown by that. But yeah.
And you know what? Honestly, in California in particular, and not all the utilities are the same. And by the way, there are a lot of utilities that have good programs in California. The CPUC is really, it seems like the perception is that because of Title 24, LED is now mandatory. Yeah. Advanced controls is now mandatory. There's no need to incentivize for it. That's the perception, right? Well, the reality is Title 24, first of all, no one needs to upgrade their building, period. It's not illegal to have T12s in your building. It's illegal to go out and buy them, right? So the government can't force you to spend money to replace that technology. But when you do replace it, you better replace it. You can't replace it with T12s again, right? Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know, a T12 is old fluorescent tubes, the big fat ones that we've been replacing for the last 20, 30 years. But now they think that the perception is because Title 24 and even ASHRAE to a certain extent requires it in construction, that if they incentivize for it, they're just basically throwing money away because you were gonna have to do it anyways. And I would agree with them 1,000% with regards to new construction and any permitted tenant improvement type project where, yes, absolutely, people are pulling permits, you are having to comply with code requirements, and yes, you're going to have to comply with Title 24 to a certain degree. I have yet to see a Title 24 cop, okay? But I know that people are trying to enforce it, right? But with regard to retrofit, if you and I just look up in my building, and I'm working on getting our building done, right? I'm in the World Trade Center, and it's T8s, right? And I'm looking at these, and I'm talking to the building management, and they're saying, yeah, we totally want to do it, absolutely, yes. But there are financial constraints, right? It has to hit certain paybacks, has to generate certain amount of savings, and you say, geez, well, you're already 2-lamp, 3-lamp T8s. If I put advanced controls and I put LED and all, they already have occupancy sensors in here, I'm at like a 6-year payback. I need a rebate to help this thing, and then the utility says, tough, we don't do rebates because you have to do LED. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're just not going to do this project. And then there goes the retrofit business in California, because and I'll talk to this point here. So we do a lot with car dealerships, right? So when we first started focusing on car dealerships, the customers said, I've got 5 or 6 I've had this contractor and that contractor and this distributor, and I work with this distributor, and they've been out here, and I've got 10 proposals, and nobody's been able to get under 6 years. That was like their number, can't get under 6 years. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, yeah, it's tough, man. LEDs are expensive. They're not cheap, right? It's not like doing a T8 tube replacement anymore. The LEDs are expensive. An area light at a car dealership with high lumen per watt and high CRI and all those different things that you need to make the cars pop, and you're gonna spend $400, $500, $600 for that fixture, and then to put it in, and it's expensive. So what are you saving? You're saving a couple hundred watts. Does that really justify $400, $500, $600? So we need incentives, right? You need something, that pays $100 or $200 a fixture to really help. Now you're talking about a $300 fixture. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, yeah, I'm with advanced controls. I can dim it after the hours, and I can do things like that. Okay, now I can get you to a 3-year payback. Without the incentive, no way. So now you've got all these properties, and I mean, you drive. Everyone. I was just talking to a guy who's an expert, expert in California efficiency, and it's like, oh, all the dealerships have been done.
Yeah, all of them, 100%.
All of them, 100%. Everyone. Like, really, that's funny because I'm working with a lot of dealerships, and by the way, I mean. Just driving down the street, 1 out of 5 is done. I mean, you can see them from the street, right? It's either LED or it's not. So I think there's a perception that there's so many perception issues in this industry. And
I think a lot of that is fueled by these industry organizations where, they're going out there and they're rating states by, how energy efficient are they, and, Massachusetts and California. And now there's this built up perception that, oh, well, everything in Massachusetts and California are done. And no, that is probably the furthest thing from the truth. Have massive steps been taken? Yes, hands down, they have. But there's still a lot of industries out there, a lot of buildings out there. I've even seen T12s not too recently. And I couldn't believe it. I was a little bit shocked. Here in Massachusetts, most efficient, state in the entire country, T12s? Okay, yeah, interesting.
I'm looking at the port right now, and obviously it hasn't fired up yet, but I have driven around the port at night. This is the Port of Long Beach. I've driven around the port at night, and if 20% of it's done, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It just glows orange. Mm-hmm. It's all HPS.
Yep.
So and that's premium property. The only energy, or the only cost, energy cost are the cranes and the lights, right? There's no buildings out, there's no AC. It's basically the world's biggest parking lot, and it's just 1,000-watt high pressure sodium by the thousands, and no one's done it, right? And it's tough. You don't offer an incentive for it, what are we going to do? So that is a big thing. I'm making a plea to the CPUC and to other entities that are under the impression that LED is mandatory. Please understand that it's not mandatory to retrofit your building. And unless it's cost effective and we get some help from the utility, which is what we've been getting for the last 30 years, retrofit will die. And there was some study or statement made by somebody that I liked that said something like 90% of the buildings that will ever exist are already built.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to realize,
Retrofit.
That's king.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, going to that, I want to take this opportunity to build this into the survey that we were just talking about. I mean, we have this great audience of contractors and end users, and I want to get some data around this, because I think you're right. I think there is a massive misperception of how important utility programs are. So I'm going to add that in there. I think that's great. That's good.
Yeah, and I think for this hour, I think that these are the topics that we wanted to cover, and we're going to continue to have these discussions, put the polls out there, educate the industry. We want to. What we learn from these podcasts. So if you can help us by responding, by commenting, by taking the polls, we're going to take that information and we're going to rally up to the PUC. We're going to rally up to the federal government. We're going to rally around to try to educate the industry. We'll do our talks and our panels at the important conferences to take what we learn from interacting with you, the listener, and to educate those that are making important decisions, but are clearly not doing it based on good intel. And hopefully we can start to bring a little better intel and information upstream to help influence some of those decisions. So join us on this fight to increase information in the industry. That's what we're here to do. We want to educate. We want to inform. We want to be informed. When we don't know something, we want to find the people that know it. If you're somebody that is a leader in a particular space, if you're a leader in IoT, in wireless, advanced controls, in lighting, in HVAC, and in building technology, if you have information that you'd like to share with us, that if you want to contact us, please reach out to us. Click the link below, send us an email, and maybe we'll have you on the podcast and we'll interview you. But we want thought leaders to also be a part of this discussion. We don't claim to be experts in all things. We want to stimulate a conversation, and hopefully, you, the listener, can be a part of that conversation. So thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you all, and hope to see you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Great, guys. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so fantastic. Good job, guys. I think that was a lot more what I hoped.
Free flowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Conversational.
But I didn't really have much to say on incentives and stuff. I don't really know a lot about that.
Yeah, that's okay. You're learning, right?
But one thing I was going to throw out there is, are there other like rebate things like HVAC, like, I don't know, all these other things, IoT? If we think of IoT, we should look into other programs and kind of share those with the audience, right?
Yes, and I think that we need to, I don't think that there's necessarily quote unquote an IoT incentive.
No.
But
we should create one.
Well, there's incentives for things that are IoT. Yeah. So when we go into a building and we put the air compressor on our system and turn it off at night, that air compressor does have a rated energy consumption, and the utility will pay for the savings that you generate from that. And they do, because a utility, you can go to a utility and say, I'm going to shut off whatever. I mean, it could be the most random thing. If it uses energy, they usually have programs. It isn't just lighting or air conditioning. They have controls as a blanket incentive. And now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to control, and it might not be lighting or HVAC or anything, and you can end up, that ends up saving projects. That's how we're saving projects. I'm going in, I'm shutting off an air compressor, I'm getting a $20,000 rebate. It's making up for all the shit that I'm not getting in lighting. I'm having to be smart about it. Yeah. But yeah, we should talk about that next time, take some notes on that. But yeah, I thought it was